committee. We appreciate your interest and participation in the legislative process to ensure everyone can view, hear, and understand today's proceedings. We ask for your cooperation in maintaining decorum, civility, and throughout this hearing. This is the first state and local government committee hearing of this session. So for the safety, security, and comfort of all attendees, we have a certain set of guidelines. There are signs and cards that are not permitted in the hearing room. We appreciate those that have informed us ahead of time of certain accommodations that they've asked for. Sergeants are present to ensure everyone's safety. Testifiers signed up in advance and have been provided with a time limit for testimony. Please adhere to these limits. The time limits are set so that we can keep the meeting on time. And with that, we will start with our first bill. First up, Senator Wiklund, a quorum is present. And I'd like to thank, Senator Wiklund, you're up first, Senate File 3863.
Thank you.
Senator Wiklund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really appreciate being able to have a hearing on Senate File 3863. It's a very simple bill, and it is designed to extend the expiration date for the Legislative Commission on Cybersecurity. This was first passed and set up in 2021, and we have had several years now of successfully holding meetings. And the four of us who represent the Senate on the Legislative Commission on Cybersecurity are authors of this bill. Myself and then Senator Zhang, Senator Lucero, and Senator Coran are the four current Senate members of this 8-member commission. The reason that I would like to bring this forward this year is that it seemed like in a policy, this is more of a policy year, and maybe we can take care of extending the expiration date so that it does not expire in 2028. And I brought forward the bill with a 7-year extension because when we initially passed it, we had a 7-year length of time that the first expiration date was set for. And I would like to see an expiration date still included because I think it helps us as a legislature remember to go back and kind of review if the commission is still meeting the needs of the legislature. So I think it's appropriate to have an expiration date. And we have had a very active schedule with most years, I think, meeting our 3-year at least meeting per year. And we discuss really vital topics for the state regarding cybersecurity and how Minnesota can do, increase the capabilities that we have in terms of protecting state government and other entities from cybersecurity attacks. And so that is the bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the commission if there are any. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wiklund. Members, any questions or comments to the bill? Senator Coran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Wiklund, for bringing that forward. I'm, as you know, I'm in full support. We created that, and thank God we created it when we did, relative to where we are in the advancement of technology. And so we've had, for members, we birthed it, made significant modifications, operating in an environment so we've now been able to receive information we've never had available. We go into closed session, we have a public portion and we have a closed session, so we can have really honest conversations. And one, we had the city of St. Paul we just go through a pretty significant attack. To be able to talk about that openly, about what worked really well, and most of it did, but it really gave us a line of sight into what we need to be prepared for, and some infrastructure regionally, how to, just space that to run that exercise as they did for weeks. And by the way, our National Guard did a great job, and they've been included in all of these things from the beginning. So thank you, Senator Wiklund. I also agree with the kind of the sunset or an expiration, just as a reminder and reevaluation of continuation of need and or a good time to refresh and what does the next version of it look like. It's a long ways away. We'll probably have many versions before we get to 2035. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cran. Any other members, questions or comments? Senator Wiklund, thank you for carrying this bill. I'm also a member of the Cybersecurity Committee, Legislative Commission, and I think for what a lot of people didn't, or I certainly didn't when I first got here at the legislature. So what would happen if the committee were just set to expire? Could you shed a light into that for us? Other than what Senator Cran already said.
Mr. Chair, I'd say that if it were to expire, I think we would lose a great opportunity for legislators to be able to come together and learn about these key threats, as Senator Cran mentioned, that technology is always rapidly advancing, and we need to have a way for a core group of legislators to be able to stay abreast of what is coming and what also what could we be doing better as a state to mitigate threats. We have a connection through the commission to other state entities like the TAC, the Technology Advisory Council, and there is a state cybersecurity task force. And so we try to stay in connection with both of those groups in terms of what topics we should be discussing, and then what legislation should we be bringing forward to address some of the concerns that are raised in the commission meetings. And so I think a lot of good ideas have been discussed and then brought forward in terms of bills. So I would hate to see the expiration happen and then have to go through a process of reestablishing a commission like this. And also, thank you, Senator Cran, for mentioning the closed meeting option that we have when we designed the bill. That seemed like a good thing to include, and it has been very helpful for us to have the ability to go into a closed session. So I'd like to see that preserved as well.
All right, thank you, Senator Wiklund. Seeing no other further questions, Senate File 3863 is laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Senate File 3858, Senator Johnson Stewart. And as you're pulling up, I think there's also A1 amendment.
Correct. Thank you.
So it should be in our packets. And Senator Johnson Stewart, whenever you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Committee. Senate File 3858 is a Department of Administration bill, and I have one testifier with me. I'll just introduce the bill. And then when do you want me to move the A1?
Whenever you want.
I will.
Oh, sorry, we need, I'm getting information that we need to orally amend it.
I will.
All right.
So does everybody have a copy of the A1 with them?
Yes.
So,
Senator Johnson
Mr. Chair, I move the A1, striking the words on line 1.9, beginning with the word "for," striking the words "for each facility constructed before June 1st, 2026, and the comma following.
All right, Council?
Is that correct?
Madam Chair and members, we need to take a few more words out of this.
Okay.
So that is correct. On line 1.9, we're going to start with everything after improvements and delete it. And then on line 1.10, delete everything before the period.
Oh, all right.
All right, thank you, Ms. James.
Okay.
Senator Johnson Stewart moves the A1 amendment with an oral amendment to the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The A1 amendment is adopted. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the A1 was based on Senate Council's recommendation for just clarification. So nothing to change the intent of the bill. And so Senate File 3858, just very briefly, this is the Department of Energy's Sustainability Guidelines program, and my testifier will have a short presentation. It adds some new terms. This just updates some of the parameters around measuring sustainability and some of the things that the Department of Administration is doing. Section 2 is in response to some of the criteria for their sustainability measurements, and so it eliminates some of the requirements that we're seen as a little bit, well, I'll let my testifier go into that, but it eliminates requirements for agencies to report some of the criteria that was originally specified. Section 3 requires that agencies with custodial control for facilities report their material, energy, and water consumption and cost data to the Commissioner of Administration. So it just replaces some of the reporting requirements in Section 2. Section 4 requires agencies to maintain energy and water benchmarks and goals. Section 5 adds the setting of enterprise-wide goals to a requirement of the Office of Enterprise Sustainability to manage sustainability metrics, makes a few other technical changes. And then Section 6 just changes the title of the section. Before I hand this over to my testifier, I just want to remind everyone that building management and sustainability goals are really an important part of facilities management in general, and helps our department to not only save money, but reduce impacts on the environment and reduce energy consumption. And so I'll turn it over to my testifier, but I'm pleased to have been asked to carry what I think is a really important bill.
Welcome to the Minnesota State and Local Gov Committee. Please state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Thank you, Chair Zhang. My name is Marcus Scrubs. I'm the Director of the Office of Enterprise Sustainability at the Department of Administration. We've got a few slides, and then I'll get to it. So the Office of Enterprise Sustainability was established in 2017 under an executive order and was reaffirmed in 2019 under executive order. It was then established in statute, and some responsibilities of our office were identified, including managing metrics and reporting dashboard at, you can see that at sustainability.mn.gov. Assisting agencies in developing and executing sustainability plans and sharing tools and best practices with state and local governments. State agencies are directed to, through executive order, to participate with us in this effort, and then there are some things like you've noted, and there has been in a long time requirement in statute to report energy use. There are goals that are established through the executive order and the steering team in that group, and one of the important parts of this amendment is allowing admin to maintain those goals and update them as needed for going forward. And I'll just highlight the ones that are relevant to this, which are energy, which is a 30% reduction in building energy use per square foot by 2030, and a 15% reduction in water use per square foot. We do a few things, 4 things I'll highlight here, and the first is that we manage this reporting framework and collect the data, some 6 million data points a year. And then we turn that into usable graphics and data that can be used by agency leaders to make decisions about their operations to avoid costs and achieve these goals. We provide planning support at the agency level and also sticky enterprise-wide issues in policy or administrative policy that can be obstacles or opportunities. And then we support with technical assistance and implementation at the program and project level, and then of course we champion this work here and in other places. We provide resources, and it's not always a monetary resource, but it's important that we're providing an avenue to achieve these things, and so some of it is vendors that may do energy audits, for example, or maybe we help an agency write a position description so that they can hire somebody on their own team that can maintain and do energy work and implement best practices to avoid costs. And in that same space, we would, we help agencies, for example, identify utility rebates that might be relevant or achieve tax incentives. And then so lastly, what this bill does that Senator Johnson Stewart highlighted was that it clarifies energy and energy reporting requirements. It establishes the water reporting requirement in statute, which is important. It was required in an executive order in 2017, and that's how long we've been doing it. It requires energy and water benchmarking and goals, which is also a best practice in commercial real estate. And it requires agencies to prioritize planning that, making an effort to plan to implement those cost-avoiding things amongst all of their many other priorities. And then it directs us to maintain these enterprise-wide goals. And with that, Chair, I'll conclude.
Thank you, Director Grubb. Members of the committee, any questions or comments on the bills? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Senator Barr.
It's all right, Mr. Chair.
We're all new
Senator
this
Barr,
year.
I
I have that
apologize.
problem myself from
Senator
time to
Barr.
time. Actually, more often than I care to admit.
I
So,
was going to call you Gustafson.
well, yeah, it would be. So my question is, you've continually used the word goals. We have a goal for this, a goal for this, and a goal for this. What happens if I don't meet the goals?
Director Grubb.
Chair Zhang, Senator Barr, thank you. There is no consequence for not meeting the goal. What is important from my perspective, and I think from the department's perspective, is that we're highlighting that there are goals, that agencies are making progress towards them or not, and that there's an opportunity to avoid costs in achieving those goals.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is kind of, I guess, a bailiwick for me, is why do we set goals in statute? I get that the governor can set the goals and tell all of the agencies, these are the goals we want to achieve. And if we have an agency that is actually nowhere close to achieving the goals, then you would come back to the legislators and mandate something. That's what statute is. These are laws. You will do X, Y, and Z, not we want you to kind of go this direction and here's where we want you to be eventually in some time, some vague thing. That's not what a statute's for. I don't dispute what you want to do, but I think it should be in executive orders. This is where we want our agencies to be, as opposed to setting in statute, we kind of want you to go this direction. So just my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Barr. Any other? Senator Hemmingson Yeager.
Thank you, Chair. My question is for the Department of Admin. So 2020, the governor ordered all state employees to go to a teleworking 100%. And since then, now they've been mandated to come back to the office 50%. I'm curious if you were tracking the state's energy and water usage as well as their waste throughout that time period, and then how that's comparing to now that they're all back in the office 50%.
Director Grubb.
Yeah, Chair Zhang, Senator Hemmingson Jaeger, thank you for the question. I think we are wrapping up our reporting we're working on actively and we'll publish our reporting for the calendar year 2025 in July of this year, or June, middle of June. We'll have preliminary numbers in May, and we could probably answer that question more then. What we have said in previous testimony to this committee years ago was we didn't really see a substantial decrease in energy use in our facilities when they went into a lower occupancy mode. And that has to do with we still have to heat and cool the building and exchange the air. Bodies in the winter actually heat the building. They do require more cooling in the summer, but we can get back to you on that later this year.
Senator.
Cool. I guess that's kind of, with the changing workforce, could not teleworking be a part of sustainability planning, especially with so many state buildings being so old and needing a lot of money to kind of rehab them to make them more energy efficient?
Director Grubb.
Yeah, Chair Zhang. Senator, I think that question is probably wades into policy that's above my pay grade, but I'll say that there are statutes that direct agencies to provide services via, technology, and we think that's reduced for example, fleet utilization over the years.
Thank you, Senator. Members, any, Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious where, first of all, how many agencies does this apply to? Is it just the Department of Admin, or is it all state agencies?
Director Grubbs.
Yeah, Chair Zhang, Senator Drazkowski, this would be all state agencies.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm wondering, did I miss the fiscal note on this one, or what does this cost?
Are you asking me?
If you can answer it, Mr. Chair.
Not, Senator Johnson, sir.
I don't, Mr. Chair. Oh, it sounds like Michaela knows.
Senator Drazkowski, it's currently requested, but it's not available yet.
So,
Senator Drazkowski.
Mr. Chair, Senator Johnson Stewart, we did this a bunch last year. We passed bills out of this committee. The committee that is charged with judging the fiscal components of each bill as they come through. We don't have the fiscal note before us. My question is, why is the bill before us?
Senator
Drazkowski, the bill is being laid over for possible inclusion in the final possible.
Well, Mr. Chair, we look at the fiscal component of each bill, even those that are laid over, when we have our focus on the bill before the committee, like we are doing right now. Our heads are in the bill. We're looking at the components. The testifiers are here. This is the time to look at those components, not in the end when they're mishmashed together in a big omnibus bill that we cannot discern each of those individual pieces. This is not the way to legislate, members, and we're doing it again. So, Mr. Chair, you're going to lay the bill over. Can we bring the bill back up when the fiscal note comes? That would be my question to you, Mr. Chair.
We'll certainly look at it. I take note of what you said, and it'll be included in a final omnibus policy bill, laid over for possible inclusion. But can I guarantee that it's going to get a separate hearing like this? I can't say that for now, but we'll certainly bring this back up for discussion.
Well, Mr. Chair,
Senator Drazkowski.
Mr. Chair, I strongly urge you to do that and have us have the fiscal discussion with each bill from this point forward when it comes before us. And I would ask you to bring this bill up just to look at the fiscal part of it before we get to the point of putting together an omnibus bill.
Certainly.
Because that's the right way to legislate here. We didn't do it last year. We did very poorly the biennium before that. Let's act as a responsible legislature. We've got all kinds of waste, fraud, and abuse in this government, and we're trying to get a handle on that. Let's get a handle on this, on the new stuff that could be susceptible as well to waste, fraud, and abuse. And I'm not saying this particular bill, but I'm saying bills generally if we don't do our job. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. Senator Johnson Stewart.
I do, thank you, Mr. Chair, Senator Drazkowski, members. I want to emphasize that this work is already happening, so this work is already happening. I also want to note that this bill does reduce the amount of work because it eliminates many of the reporting requirements that were obtrusive and were taking time. The only requirement that we're adding is the water use requirement. I also want to note, just for the record, that this is the kind of bill I stand strongly in support of, or this is the kind of effort, it's already ongoing, because when we can look at things from a facilities management perspective, I mean, any large facility owner, and I don't mean just one facility, I mean like Target and General Mills and the University of Minnesota, MnSCU, the Department of Administration. This is the thing that they're doing. They're taking a look at all of their facilities. Put up that other one that showed the slide prior. And they're saying, in general, what's going on with our garbage I mean, garbage costs money to get rid of. What's going on? Which of our buildings are the least energy efficient? What can we do to plan? They don't, the state can't just decide they're going to insulate the roof of a building. They have to put it into their planning, they have to put it into their bonding requests, et cetera, et cetera. But by looking at it, using the tools, the sustainability goals are important because, I can't remember who asked that question, but because it means we have something to work towards, and the assessment is measuring the progress towards the goals. It is very common in a facilities management program to find out that the goals are inappropriate, that maybe we're going towards a target that is not really getting us to the intended objective, and so they adjust the goals. So, and also to remember, Senator Barr, this bill does not set goals. It gives the Department of Administration this bill does not set the goals themselves, but it gives the Department of Administration the ability to set the goals, which is, again, part of any facilities management program. We can get a fiscal note, but I want you to know that just this effort alone, since 2005, has saved our state $70 million in stuff that, if we can save that much money because we're looking at efficient ways of managing our fleet, of optimizing our space for employees, I think that's really great. So when I come back with a fiscal note, I would like to have some information on the benefit side of doing this work as well. I don't know that we can measure it, but I just want to advocate that this is exactly what government should be doing, and I would very much like the support of the committee.
Thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. With that, Senate file 3858 is laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next up, I see Senator Pratt out there. Senator Pratt, Senate File 3887. And as he's walking up, I think there's also an A3 amendment. Senate File 3858, as amended, is laid over for possible inclusion. All right, Senator Pratt, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could have somebody move the A3 amendment.
Senator Coran moves the A3 amendment. Did you want to talk a bit about the bill, or?
Sure. Let me. I'll talk about it, Mr. Chair. So members, the A3 amendment is just simply a delete all bill, a delete all amendment to keep the bill clean. This is an idea that came out of a group that we have in Scott County called SCALE. SCALE stands for Scott County Association for Leadership and Efficiency. It's all the cities, townships, school boards, the legislators attend, the county commissioners attend, the tribe attends, and we all work together and we try to find areas for compromise and collaboration before there's a crisis. And one of the issues that came up was that the Watershed District had hoped to be able to buy into the county's health insurance plan, only to find out that they weren't on the list that is in current statute today. We don't know why they were left off. We suspect that it may have been that they were thought to be caught in that catch-all instrumentality of one of the municipalities, but the Watershed District didn't really, and the water management organizations really didn't fit into that catch-all like was maybe originally intended. So council had informed us that no, we couldn't do that without a statutory change. So members, what this does is this simply is permissive language that allows a watershed, a WMO, and I had a conversation with the Townships Association, a township, if they choose to do so, to be able to buy in and collaborate on into a health insurance cooperative. Like I say, the language is permissive and does not put a new requirement on any of our local governments. And Mr. Chair, I have Joni Geis of the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District, if it'd be okay.
And just before that, Senator Coran moves the A3 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The amendment is adopted. Ms. Geist, welcome to the State and Local Government Committee. Please state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Mr. Chair and members, my name is Joni Giese. I'm the administrator of the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District, and I'm here to speak in favor, in support of Senate File 3887. So for the last several years, as Senator Pratt mentioned, Scott County, the municipalities within Scott County and the Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District have been investigating the feasibility of forming a self-insurance pool for health benefits. And just last year, we learned that state statute does not allow watershed districts or watershed management organizations to self-insure or to join self-insurance pools. And we really would like the opportunity to explore this opportunity or this option for us. Minnesota Watersheds, the state organization of watershed districts and watershed management organizations, passed a resolution this last year in favor of this legislation, and the bill is supported by watershed districts throughout the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Giese. I'm sorry. Members of the committee, any questions or comments to the bill? Senator Gustafson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, and I'm sorry, Senator Pratt, can you tell me again what you said about the townships? I missed that first part.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Gustafson, currently the townships can buy into a cooperative specifically for townships. But in talking with the executive director of the townships organization, they thought being a part of this bill might give them an extra option if they so chose to partner with the county instead of with other townships. So it's just creating, as Ms. Geist said, options for our public employees to find the right coverage and the right program that is affordable.
Senator Gustafson.
So if I'm hearing you right, the townships already have a program that they use, and so that's why they weren't in this. So I guess what I'm asking is because I have a very unique situation with my townships. My township is the largest in the state. It's over 10,000 people. And so while they are considered technically a township, they can't incorporate because they're non-congruent. It's a whole thing. I can fill you in later. But because they can't incorporate, they are a metro township. And they have a population of, I believe it's a little over 11,000. So because I'm on this committee, I always try to pay attention to how we're defining these areas. And my township does not belong to that organization because they're large and a little bit unique. And so they often don't have an advocate outside of myself. So what I was wondering, and we don't have to do it today, it doesn't have to be an oral amendment, but if you would be open to adding language that says any townships over 10,000 population. So again, just think on it, and we can definitely talk about it online, but it is one of those things where they don't really fit into the traditional Minnesota township definitions. They're not a city either, and so they always fall through the cracks a little bit. So if you wouldn't mind considering adding language about townships over the population of 10,000.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson. Senator Pratt.
Mr. Chair, if I could just ask Senate Council, my belief here, Senator Gustafson, is that any town can join regardless of size.
Council?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lewis Hunter, Council for Local Government, L-O-U-I-S-H-U-N-T-E-R. That is my understanding. The word town is generally applicable, but I take Senator Gustafson's point seriously because there are various definitions for various types of political subdivisions. And it could certainly be something could look into to make sure, and I believe I know the township in question, to make sure that that is actually applicable. I think I would not be confident to offer an oral amendment on the fly right at this moment, and I'd want to make sure to affect that if that is what the legislative intent is.
And if it helps, this bill will be laid over, and so we can certainly look into that. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I thought we were going to the floor based on our conversation yesterday.
Sorry, it's going to the floor, but
we can still make a technical change. Senator Gustafson,
Senator Pratt.
my conversations with Senate Council was that any public entity like we're talking about would be eligible to join. And if there's something particular that maybe isn't captured in this language as we had hoped, I'd certainly be open to having that reviewed.
Yes, and Mr. Chair, if it's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. My good friend Senator Barr over here also made that point too. But I do take what council has to say. Every once in a while, these come up and the definitions are a little tricky. So we could definitely talk about it offline, but just seeing if you're open to it.
All right, Senator Pratt, any final comments?
Mr. Chair, I think we've covered it, and the questions went exactly where I had hoped they would go, is that this is a permissive bill that really allows us to be efficient and effective with our tax dollar at the local level and allow our various organizations to jointly cooperate to provide excellent benefits for our employees, but also to save, to be efficient and cost effective for our taxpayers as well.
Thank you, Senator Pratt. Seeing no further discussion, Senate File 3887, as amended, is recommended to pass and refer to the General Register. And with that, we will take roll call or voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. All right, you're on the way, Senator
Thank you,
Pratt.
members. Appreciate it.
Next up, we have Senate File 2757, Senator Maye Quade. And as Senator Maye Quade is making her way, I think there is also an A2 amendment in your packet, or that should be in your packet. Oh, it's the A3 amendment. Senator Maye Quade, whenever you are ready.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll move the A3 amendment, and then we can chat about the bill, if that's okay?
Senator Maye Quade moves the A3 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The A3 amendment is adopted. Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. And thank you for agreeing to hear Senate File 2757. So I drafted this bill a year ago, actually. It was about 1 month into the current administration, with the foresight that it was very likely that the Republican trifecta and the Republican administration would simultaneously cut healthcare services and increase costs to deliver those services, draft executive orders in contradiction to state or local laws, gut our education system, attack civil rights and protections from discrimination, and largely punish Democratic states for being Democratic. And so 1 year on, it's clear that I correctly identified maybe the broad strokes of the attacks on Minnesotans, but I had a dramatic lapse in imagining how widespread and destructive and frankly lawless the attacks on Minnesotans would be. And so, we've seen in just a little bit over a year, we've cut billions from Medicaid and food support, doubled the cost to counties to administer fewer benefits, cut billions from rural hospitals, illegally collected billions of dollars in taxes from consumers, canceled tens of millions of dollars in grants for cities, counties, universities, colleges, withdrawn funding for terrorism prevention, local food purchasing assistance, mental health in schools, energy assistance. The list is very long. And that is before we got to kind of the lawless paramilitary terrorizing our streets, bankrupting our businesses, kidnapping our babies, detaining our neighbors, and murdering our citizens with impunity. And so Senate File 2757 is a very small but important step to try to, Band-Aid on the gaping, bleeding wound. This would take $100 million from Minnesota's budget reserves to be granted out to school districts, counties, and cities to help cover the cost from increased administrative costs for programs based on federal changes, infrastructure projects or funds canceled or withheld by the federal government, costs associated with recovery from Operation Metro Surge, including to support city budgets for police overtime, and legal costs associated with upholding state or local laws that conflict with executive orders. So this bill, it's not the panacea, it's not going to do everything, but it is a start, and it'll at least do a little bit to address what we've seen in Minnesota so far. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Maye Quade. Members of the committee, any questions or comments from the members? Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Maye Quade, just to clarify, you said this was coming out of the budget reserves, but in your amendment on line 1.5, it says general fund. Is that only part of it, or am I missing something?
Senator Maye Quade.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Barr, for the question. We put kind of what has been described to me as like an imaginary gate around our budget reserves, but it is in the general fund, and so this reflects that reality.
Senator Barr.
So it's coming out of the general fund, but if we don't have enough in the general fund, you're tapping the reserve. Is that the right way to say that?
Senator Maye Quade.
Mr. Chair, I will defer to our fiscal counsel.
Mr. Chair and Senator Barr, if I'm understanding the question, you're wondering how the budget reserve it relates to this. That's taken out in the amendment. So now it's just a general fund appropriation, and the budget reserve doesn't enter into the bill.
Okay, that's kind of what, because your amendment said general fund and you said reserve. I just wanted to clarify that. So it is all other general fund then. Thank you.
Senator Drazkowski, and was up. Senator Drazkowski.
Mr. Chair, what's the plan of action on this bill? Where is it going to go next?
Finance.
So it's,
Senator Drazkowski.
so it's going to finance. So obviously the Democrats plan to move this bill. I don't really have any questions, members. This is, we are in a position right now with our budget that is somewhat precarious. There's a $3.7 billion surplus to the end of this biennium. And then the next biennium after that is probably a wash. This government, in addition to allowing billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud, and abuse to happen in our government, while the people who are supposed to be watching are asleep at the switch. Or maybe they're awake, thinking it's okay. The people in this state and the people in this country are tired of what we have going on here. And so what we have happening is the federal government saying, what is wrong with you people in Minnesota? Why is it that you are allowing taxpayer funds to be ripped off from the good, hardworking people in this country that work hard every day to make this money that is trusted in the hands of government, entrusted in the hands of government? And so the federal government is saying, what is wrong with you people? The people in the rest of the states are saying, what is going on in Minneapolis and St. Paul? And so we have before us Minnesota Democrats bringing this delusional bill that takes another $100 million of our surplus, which might not be a surplus after the federal government withholds the money that they are going to responsibly withhold from this state government, because we are fiduciarily inept here. And so the response from the far left wing of the Democrats is to come in with a bill to spend more money, limited amount of money that we have that may disappear before the end of the biennium. This is not responsible government, members. This is yet another effort to put forward more money that could be yet co-opted from people with fraud intents. So I look at the 1.2 on the amendment. It can be used for costs associated with recovery from Operation Metro Surge. Well, many of us, Senator Maye Quade, would argue that what happened here and the interference with law enforcement that happened here that erupted many times into near riots where people put themselves in harm's way in between law enforcement and their effort. They would refer this not Operation Metro Surge, it would be referred to as chaos and anarchy and mobocracy. The democracy in the Twin Cities has been, in the last couple of months, replaced by a mobocracy. people going to the streets with ineffective and irresponsible leadership in this state that incited them to go out and be violent and interfere with the enforcement of our law. That's what we had going on here. So, and that's what people would describe, the normal people in this state and the normal people in this country would describe 1.20 as something much different than the author described here. Costs associated with recovery from Metro Surge, Operation Metro Surge. But even given that, I would say, well, and I could ask Senator Maye Quade what, my question to you would be, well, what could not be included in that? That's a wide open gift to whatever they want to use that for. There's nothing in, you could claim that anything, Senator, is due to the Operation Metro Surge, because that's what the Democrats have done. They blamed it on the federal government. The Trump derangement syndrome that many in this metro area of this state seem to have is leading them in that direction. So, members, I struggle, Mr. Chairman, with this bill. I think it's delusional. I think it's void of the reality of what we have going on here. And we're going to do more and more of the same and continue in the devolution that's going on in this state government. This is yet another example of that. This is the wrong direction, members. And I understand that the Democrats have lined up another 10 or a dozen bills to do this. Apparently, playing to the political whims of that same radical base that was out there and nearly put us into a civil war in this state. And we're going to feed that monster with this bill. A shameful bill, another sad day in Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Maye Quade, and then we do have a list, and I'm keeping tabs on the members that's going to go next. Senator Maye Quade.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll say two things. The first thing I'll say is I'm really, really glad that Senator Drazkowski wants to talk about fraud. He should call the president and ask him to stop pardoning fraudsters so that they can continue running rampant throughout the country. We have seen corporations build fraud into their model, whether it's nursing homes billing Medicaid for services they never provided, or PBMs overcharging state health programs for prescription drugs while pharmacies pay less than cost. That's not bad apples. And it's how the businesses make their money, and it is how they have set up our economy. And the corporations escape the consequences. They settle, they pay a fine for a fraction of what they stole, and then Minnesotans end up paying for it twice, once for the fraud and then another for the investigations. And when the president and Republicans openly use public office for personal gain, being gifted billion-dollar private jets and funneling contracts to friends, bragging about cheating on their taxes, and generally treating corruption as normal, it sends a clear message to the corporate fraudsters who are in the pocket of those people, saying, go ahead, no one's going to stop you. It's fine, it's just smart business to do that. And if you do get caught, we will pardon you. It's why we haven't seen the same threats against the people of Texas, where there is more Medicaid fraud than Minnesota, or Florida, or Arizona, or Arkansas and Missouri, who have it more per capita. No, they have targeted Minnesota because we are a strong, resilient people who care and love for one another. And they have done that to try to break us, and they have not. The last thing I will say is that this bill gives grants to cities, counties, and school districts. And I will not malign the elected officials at local and county government who are desperately crying out for help and support because they have seen their communities devastated, whether it is citizens being shot in the back or babies being used as bait and taken out of state and then sent back or released on the streets somewhere else. We have seen workers taken, U.S. citizens murdered. We have school budgets impacted, police budgets impacted. We've had roads and bridges and energy assistance projects canceled. You can focus on Metro Surge all you want to. This 1 year has been truly devastating for our budgets, whether it is at the state or below. It is literal sabotage. It's an economic siege. We just saw with Metro Surge, it was the armed version of that. So this bill will make sure that we can do a little bit to help our partners at county and city government and in school districts, because the harm is real. And no matter how upsetting it might be to hear that, it's true.
Senator Gustafson, then Senator Matthews. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Maye Quade, for this bill. I think it's great. I also appreciate, to correct you, you also included townships, so thank you. I would also correct Senator Drazkowski. The uses are right here. It says right at line 2.3, subdivision 6, grants use. And then it goes on to talk about the things that you can use it for. I would also remind everybody that in 2023, we talked about a little bit of the cost of this. In 2023, my bill, the first ever in Minnesota state history, to give $300 million to every city, township, over 10,000, county, and tribal nation for public safety. And no one, and by the way, every Republican voted against it, but they all told me later that they loved it so much. And I think that's the point, is that we are okay with the dollar amount if it goes to stuff that you think is necessary. I think for those of us who lived through Metro Surge, this is necessary. If you don't know what happened, then either you're missing out on a good section of the news, right? And maybe you're only watching from certain, your media diet is limited, or no one was telling you. And maybe they weren't telling you about it because they didn't feel safe telling you about it. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know everybody's communities, but this is just as necessary as another round of public safety funding that was very popular with our cities and needed. So same thing, but I would just say that this isn't like unprecedented. We did this before. We did this in 2023. So thank you for bringing this forward. A lot of our cities are really going through it right now. School districts too. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, some of the presentation of this bill made it clear that this was an extremely one-sided presentation that selected some facts and clearly ignored others, including ones that have been clearly debunked along the way. What we can control here in the state of Minnesota is what we do with our budgets and our tax dollars. And we can point to every other state and say, oh, maybe they're worse, maybe they have this, maybe have that. That's not our concern. We have a lot of legitimate, credible allegations of where people have been stealing our tax dollars, and the federal government has taken action, and members of this administration, including our governor and others, made extreme, reckless, and heinous statements that continued to gin it all up. That's why you saw things uniquely in Minnesota that you didn't see in other Democrat states where some governors went, well, we at least have to start talking and work together to figure out how we're going to work things out here in our state. So that's the problem with this, when we're going to pick and choose and we're only going to point fingers at one side, and nothing in here about holding the governor responsible for how he continued to drum this up, or anything else. And I know that my constituents don't want to continue to throw another $100 million after all that has gone on. So I hope that this committee is willing to actually get serious and put the controls in on our program so that the dollars that my constituents are working hard for and having removed from their paycheck every 2 weeks or every month is going to the purpose where it's going to, and we stop with bills that just come out extremely one-sided and nitpicked like this.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Can I respond?
Senator Maye Quade, then Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I think it's really important for members to note that this bill covers a lot of things. So I'll just speak to my own county. I encourage every member to talk to their county. For Dakota County alone, in 2027, we will pay $9.8 million more to deliver fewer services to residents in Dakota County. And in 2028, that's $3.4 million. That is raising our property taxes in Dakota County by 9% each year in order to cover those costs. The amount that counties are going to have to pay to administer SNAP benefits doubles, and fewer people will receive them. I urge everybody to talk to your counties. Ask them how they're feeling. The one big bill is absolutely devastating to state, county, and local budgets, and this bill would do even a little bit to help those counties. We spent all interim, or at least I did, talking to my county over and over and over again about what we can do. And this, to me, is one of the most urgent things that we can do. We also had grants canceled to prevent terrorism and for stop school violence. There were mental health grants. There was $900,000, I believe, that was cut from mental health program for public schools in Rochester. It was $1 billion program federally. I'm telling you, you might not like hearing it, but it's real. And our local governments, our school districts, our counties, they need our help. And that's what this bill is for. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Maye Quade. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Drazkowski, I agree with you completely. The people are certainly tired of what's happening in Minnesota. And I am very much appreciative of this bill. I know in my own radical suburb of Minnetonka, we are seeing significant costs. I just texted the city manager. I have the data. In fact, the Coalition of Safe and Stable Communities is right now putting together a cost estimate for all the money that they have had to pay for police overtime, just to address ICE in our, I can't remember your words, but for my very conservative community. I mean, I represent 15 communities, and they all, in some way, are being impacted by ICE. I would recommend that those opposed to this bill be very careful, because ICE has caused chaos, and in response to that chaos, local police in Rochester, in Buffalo, in Montrose, in Monticello, in Howard Lake, in Wilmer, all of these radical communities, they are going to be needing help because they cannot incur these costs. You know, I often get frustrated when people think roads are free. Well, you know what else is, they're not free, by the way, and neither is police overtime, and neither is the impacts to schools and the extra effort that school districts are having to implement because children are afraid to come to school. That is a real thing. So be very careful in who you call extreme. The school district in Buffalo, where my daughter works, I would say is anything but extreme, but they are having to incur costs due to the reality of the federal government's surge on Minnesota. And so this money, it's limited. I think it's responsible. I'm very appreciative. I guarantee some of your communities, maybe even Wabasha or Red Wing or Princeton, any of the communities that we should all care about, they are incurring costs. And I think this is a good effort, and I will be supporting it. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Hemmingson Yeager.
Thank you, Chair. I just kind of want to add into that too. You know, we had ICE impacting Woodbury. We also had the whole detention center that the citizens of Woodbury were able to fight against and finally get that off the table. But the amount of city time that took was extraordinary. I would also like to point out that in meeting with my county, Washington County, they were very explicit in saying that what is happening with SNAP, just one example, is completely devastating to them as well. The amount of work that they have to put in, the extra certifications, people losing their SNAP, and they were very clear in saying, we need help. This is the one thing we need help. We need dollars to help get this through. So I really appreciate you adding the counties, specifically for administrative costs. So thank you very much.
Senator Fate.
Yeah, I wasn't going to speak, but representing Minneapolis, I think I feel the need to, and I want to first say thanks to Senator Maye Quade for bringing this legislation forward. And I think it's interesting that folks are talking about actions and how much money we're spending when the federal government spent $170 billion plus on untamed, untrained rogue agents. We saw 3,000 agents deployed on a militarized operation in which families were torn apart. We had 2 United States citizens that were murdered, Renee Good and Alex Purdy both, which occurred in the district that I represent. We've seen millions of dollars lost weekly on the Lake Street corridor alone in South Minneapolis. And that's all because of the president's ego. And that's just a flat out truth. And when we talk about immigration or fraud or things like that, that actually directly contradicts what the president said. And being a Somali American, I want to highlight a couple of things that he said. He said, we don't want them. I don't want them in our country. Their country stinks, and we want them, and we don't want them in our country. He also said, he called our Congresswoman garbage. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She is garbage. Her friends are garbage. He said that the Somali community contributes nothing and does nothing but complains. He said that we're going in the wrong direction. We're going the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. And so that's the kind of rhetoric that has been spewed out by the president of the United States, which is a conduct unbecoming of a president. And so I think that this is much needed. I want to thank you, Senator Maye Quade, for taking leadership on this. And I'm honored to serve with you. I'm proud to support this. So thank you.
All right, Senator Maye Quade, thank you for bringing this bill forward. I know it's not an easy task, and it's not easy putting the bill together. I'm certainly hearing it from my community. We certainly sent officers to help out in Minneapolis when the call came. And so, you know, the local communities are feeling it. But I thank you for bringing forward the bill. I think this is not the last time we're going to hear this topic. But with that, Senator Drazkowski. Yes, roll call being requested. Roll call will be given. Senator Coran, did you have something to say?
I was requesting a roll call.
Okay. Senate File 2757, as amended, is recommended to pass and referred to finance. And staff will take a roll call.
Chair Zhang?
Yes.
Vice Chair Gustafson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Maye Quade?
Aye.
Senator Lang? Excused. Senator Barr?
No.
Senator Swedzinski?
Yep.
Senator Drazkowski?
No.
Senator Fateh?
Yes.
Senator Hemmings and Yeager?
Yes.
Senator Johnson Stewart?
Aye.
Senator Coran?
No.
Senator Matthews?
No.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 ayes, 4 noes, and 1 excused.
There being 7 ayes and 4 noes, Senate File 2757, as amended, recommended is passed and referred to the Finance Committee. And members, with that, the State and Local Government Committee is adjourned. Thank you.